Hello, ladies, and welcome to our online event, Create Connections on Purpose and for Profit, with speaker, author, and corporate trainer Myra McElhaney. We'll bring her on in just a few minutes. In the meantime, I am Shannon Bednowitz, your online community chapter director, and I'm thrilled to be here for our monthly online event today. We've started having many more online educational teleseminars every week, and this one today is an entire event, including a raffle prize valued at over $200. You have to stay to the end to win, and member introductions just like we have at the Connect Live events that thousands of women are attending across the country every month in person. Please visit our calendar on the website to get a full listing of our educational offerings, online and live events at over40females.com. That's over40females.com. Okay, just some brief announcements and quickly about who we are. Over 40 Females is a nationally acclaimed live and online networking community specifically tailored for women over the age of 40 and speaks mountains to women in transition, just like you and I. Our raffle today is a beauty trio by Collins Skincare from France worth over $200. We will announce the winner at the end of the event, so please stay with us all the way until the end to see if you won. Speaking of our amazing community, we are constantly getting our members noticed and in the press. As you'll see on the screen, that face of Julia Klein from Chicago. She was on her own segment with NBC featuring her book. Helen Powers from Connecticut was booked on her own segment on NBC. Jerry Stengel from New York was on ABC Eyewitness News. We are very proud of the fact that we are constantly getting our members so much recognition for their businesses, not just on TV, but in every form of media out there. And I just want to remind you, as members, please go and log into the website for your many, many online benefits. It's so important as we pick out members from what they write in their profiles to present for TV segments, press features, website features. We are now writing a book and have all kinds of other amazing opportunities for you to promote yourselves and your businesses. As you can see, Kelly Epperson from our Chicago chapter has opened her own blog right in her profile on over40females.com, and we have been promoting her on our tens of thousands of followers and friends on social media. Every chapter gets online benefits no matter what membership type you have. I want everyone to understand that every single chapter gets the online benefits, so live and online. We have separate pages on Facebook. There's an Over 40 Females online community, and we also have pages for each of the live communities as well. The ladies are tearing it up on the online community page, sharing all kinds of stuff that they're up to. There are many, many people on there, so please join the crowd. We are connecting, encouraging, and inspiring one another live every day. What Women Want Talk Radio is another way for you to get your story or business promoted. Our founder, Judy Goss, is the radio show host of a very successful women's talk radio show, and members get top consideration to be interviewed for What Women Want Talk Radio, which has over 30,000 listeners every month, every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Email pitches can be sent to whatwomenwantshow@gmail.com. That's whatwomenwantshow@gmail.com. You see that email address at the bottom of the slide. We are constantly looking for guests to interview. We range in topics from a doctor that found a vaccine to cure the breast cancer virus to tarot card readers, and celebrity Marcia Clark was on last month, and many more. On screen right now are the states we are currently So if you want to attend events in person also, you can go to our website, and under locations, we have events at least once every month. Look on our locations page to see where and when you can go. Or join us here online every month as well. We are super happy to have you. And we wouldn't have all these chapters and cool happenings without awesome sponsors like Cappy. If you are ready to book that next vacation, let Cappy help you. You can Google your trip to death, but it's always nice to have a friendly agent do it for you. And especially if something goes wrong, you can let her deal with it. Her number is 888-227-7975. And now I am going to introduce our guest speaker, Myra McElhaney. As a speaker, writer, and corporate trainer, Myra has worked nationally with corporate clients, universities, and professional trade associations, presenting keynote speeches, training programs, and workshops. Whether she's talking or writing, Myra uses humor and stories to communicate information and share life lessons, so audiences and readers alike gain insights and feel encouraged. Her personal blog, Enjoy Life and Do Good, emphasizes 3 areas: work with purpose, live with passion, and make a difference. Having worked with clients such as Coca-Cola, AT&T, Delta Technology, and Porsche Cars North America, she has spoken to audiences across a broad spectrum of industries, including banking, healthcare, hospitality, telecommunications, transportation, and much more. She particularly enjoys working with professional associations and women's conferences. Welcome, Myra.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here and look forward to talking with everyone about connecting, creating connections on purpose and for profit. If you hate networking and you hate attending networking events, or if you attend the events and you meet people but never get business from it, if you get business cards and then don't ever follow up, this program will help you to learn to network and to build those create those connections, for purpose and for profit. And the way we'll do that is I will advance the slides and we'll go through certain bullet points. I assume that everyone here will be taking notes. However, if you decide that you want to get an extended outline of the program so that you can follow along, then I will be able to email them. What is your purpose for networking? You know, sometimes I go to a lot of networking events because I enjoy them. I'm very extroverted and I enjoy getting out and meeting people. So networking events are easy for me, but often I will go with other people who don't enjoy them so much. And I've seen some mistakes they make over the course of this, and I'll share some of those with you. One of the biggest mistakes I see is that people go without a purpose for their networking. For instance, I went with a guy not too long ago who said, "Oh, sure, I'll go to the networking event with you and hand out some business cards." But handing out business cards is not the purpose of attending a networking event. What you want to do is create connections with people so that you can follow up with them, so that you can begin a relationship with them. And it's more important for you to get their business card than it is for them to get yours. So it's important you know your purpose. Some people go to networking events because they're looking to meet people, either clients or prospects, people that they sell the product to or sell their service to. That's the most common reason. Sometimes people go to networking events because they want to meet gatekeepers and advocates. This is something you may forget about. You may go to an event and say, there was no one there who could hire me. But if there was someone who deals with the type of clients you're looking for, or someone who happens to know a lot of those people in your target market, then that can be beneficial for you as well. Another reason to go to a networking event is to build a network of service providers, people that you would use in your business. For example, you may need computer techs, you may need lawyers, CPAs, business consultants. Someone who has a real estate-based business might need plumbers, electricians, lawn care. So you can also look for people that would be service providers to you. Now keep in mind those service providers to you would also be likely to know people that could buy your product or service. Another reason someone might want to network or attend networking events is to build a following. Maybe they're writing a book, they're an event planner, or maybe they are a humorist or someone who's looking for places to connect with people that could become audience members for them. So there are a variety of reasons that you might want to go to networking events. And let me just also say before we move on to the next slide that networking itself is not an event. Networking is sort of like farming. You're planting seeds by attending an event, and then you're cultivating those seeds to grow into relationships that can result in business. So it's not an event, but we're talking about how to use events for networking. Now, one of the things that's very important is that you know who your ideal client or customer is. And actually, this is back on the previous slide. You may say that your specific client is everyone, but what we're looking for is your ideal client. I was at a meeting once. I actually was at a health spa once, and I happened to sit at the table for lunch with the guy who was the president of this organization, and I was asking him about his target market, and he said, everyone can come here. And then he went on to tell me about how his advertising is not working. And I realized then that he was so unfocused on who his ideal client was that he wasn't advertising in a way that could help him. And when you think of your ideal client, the more detailed you can get, the more focused you can get on who that is, the more likely you are to find them. Think of it as a target, like a target if you're playing darts. And your ideal client would be in that very middle circle, the center of the target. And if you're aiming for that, you may also get people who are in an outer ring of the target, but that's okay too. Just aim for that center, and then it doesn't mean you can't sell or connect with the people who come to you while you're working to find them. But aiming for the ideal client, the more specific it is, the easier it is to locate and meet them. Let me give you an example. For over 40 females, Judy could have started this and said, oh, my target market is for everyone. Everyone needs these programs and a place to network. But she knew better than that, and she didn't just say, my target market is just for women. She said, my target market is women over 40. But if you look at the website and read the mission, you will see it's actually more detailed than that. It's women over 40 who are entrepreneurial and who are in transition. And once you know exactly who your ideal client is, it's much easier then to find them, to connect with them, and to cultivate programs and services and products that fit them better. Now we'll look at where you will find them. It's important to
Myra?
go to yes.
I want to interrupt you for a quick second because it seems that related to where you're at right now. We do have a question from the online community. The question from Ronna Corlin is, what's the best way to contact a company where you don't have a contact for the purpose of introducing them to your service? Do you believe in cold calling or cold letter writing in 2015?
There is a place for cold calling. It is more difficult if you don't have a contact. Business is built through relationships, and that's the purpose of networking, is to build those relationships so that you don't have to cold call. Is it still a viable way to get business in today's market? Yes, but it's much more difficult. So networking is a way to get to the point you meet clients or someone within the company without having to cold call. So that brings us to the next bullet. Well, where will you find people? If you're looking for corporations, then you need to look at where corporations go, what organizations. You may go to the Society of Human Resource Professionals, and that would be a place that there would be people who would work in major corporations, or maybe Women in Communications. Look for where the people in those corporations hang out, and those would be networking places for you. If you have a different type business, like for fashion, jewelry, makeup, accessories, you might want to go to the Association of Image Consultants or team up with someone else who serves that. So you look specifically, and quite frankly, finding people in corporations, the higher up you want to go in the corporations, the more difficult it is. But don't let that stop you, because you might meet someone at a Women in Communications who handles the communications for a Fortune 500 company, and they could eventually introduce you to the right contact within that company. So that's where you will find them, is look at where the people who could connect you with who you want to, where do they hang out, what events can they attend. And then you would, once you've identified these organizations, you'll look at their website, see when they have meetings, see if they allow guests, and also while you're there, look at who is attending the meetings. Get names of people if you can. Look at the board of directors of the group. See who's on it. You might go to the board of directors of a group and see that someone from Coca-Cola is on that. So you'd want to make a point to meet them at the event. Okay, now we're ready for the next slide, which is preparation. If anyone has questions, this is a good time to, of course, you can email them in anytime during the program. When you're preparing to go to an event, a lot of people just grab their business cards and go. But it really helps if you do your homework. Like I said, look at the website of the organization, know who you may be going to want to meet, script a soundbite, and then practice it so that it's really easy. If someone says to you, what do you do? Most people will say, I'm a writer, I'm a CPA, I'm a business consultant. They will give with a title. And there's a wonderful book that I highly recommend. It's a very short, I think 75-page book by Mark LeBlanc called Grow Your Business. And he talks about positioning yourself by concept rather than title. For example, you might, if you're a business consultant, you might say, I help entrepreneurs to grow their business. And your goal is to have the person you're talking to then follow up with, that sounds interesting, how do you do that? Or you might say, I help couples to enjoy their retirement without worry, if you're a financial planner, and then have people say, how do you do that? And so that's a good book that I recommend. If you aren't following that particular formula, then just make sure you have your very short soundbite or elevator pitch ready, so when people say, what do, you know how to answer that. Select one or two of the groups that you have identified to meet. It is pretty common practice that you should be involved with at least 3 groups on a regular basis. One that's very general, one that's industry specific, either to your industry or the industry you serve, and one where you're with peers so that you can receive information about what's going on in your business and what your competition is doing and what's happening in the industry. So before you become members of these organizations, I recommend that you identify several, visit them, and base your membership on the type of programs they have, the timing of their programs, whether it fits into your schedule, and the feeling you get from your group. Before you attend any particular event, scan the attendees or members. If you don't see that on the website, then look at the names of the board members. If they have an advocates list or an advisory board, look at the list of those folks. Look for names and companies of people you really want to connect with. Look for maybe if they have articles, see who's written the articles. So you'll have some people in mind that you already know you want to connect with if they're there. And then set a goal for meeting people. If you're going to say an hour, maybe you want to meet four people or 6 people, new people, so that you know you can comfortably meet a certain number of people and have a genuine conversation with them within that time. But be very careful about getting stuck talking to one particular person. This is a common thing that people who don't like networking do, is they will go in, find one person to talk to, and talk to that one person all evening. Or if they go to an event where they know someone, they'll talk to the person they know rather than meeting other people that they don't know. So that's a very common mistake. If you set a goal for how many new people you want to meet, it helps you avoid that. So those are ways to prepare. And the next thing we want to talk about on the next slide is what to do at the event. Keep your cards handy. I can't tell you how many times I go to an event and ask someone for a business card, and they either say they don't have them or that they have to dig through their purse to find them. So keep your cards handy. There's an old rule of thumb from back in the days where we wore suits all the time, that you keep your business cards in one suit pocket or pant pocket, and you keep the cards you collect in the other pocket. But so many times now we don't have pockets, so we're just pulling them out of our purse, or you have your little card case, but make sure your cards are handy. Have a place that you normally put the cards for other people too, so that when you get home you can follow up, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Plan some conversation starter questions. A lot of people really find it difficult to make small talk. So they find themselves standing in awkward silence or going initially for that first, so what do you do? Think of some other ideas that will be more in the minute. You are at an event, so you may ask something like, how long have you been a member of this organization? You may ask them, what do you like best about the group? Have you found that it helps you to build relationships? You might ask about the venue. If you're attending an event that's held at a restaurant or at a venue that does events, a special event venue, maybe some of the events I've attended lately have been in stores, like a handbag store recently, and we did one in Atlanta here with our network, Over 40 Females Network, that we did in the Intimacy lingerie store. And so people were there looking at bras and bra shopping and bringing old bras to donate for a charity while they were networking. So you can always ask something like, have you been to this venue before? Also think about anything that's in the news. Of course, no politics, religion, or anything controversial. But if there's been something in the news lately, like, there's been a lot of news coverage about the end of the Mad Men series or something like that that's not controversial, but that you can ask someone about and start a conversation. What you're looking for is ways to build rapport, and we'll talk a little bit more about rapport later too. Also, keep some phrases in mind for backing away from bores. We've all been to networking events where you meet the person that is standing there talking to you, droning on and on and on about their business. And I think sometimes people do this when they're nervous and don't know what to talk about. So you ask them what they do, and they go into a monologue of 15 minutes telling you all about their products and their company and all of that. Feel free to interrupt. Just sort of raise your finger in that universal signal of, excuse me a minute, and hopefully they will notice that. And then you can make a break for it and say, it's been great talking to you, but I see someone across the room there I need to speak to. And that is a true statement if there's anyone across the room, because suddenly the stranger across the room you really need to speak to if you need to get away from that bore. So you can use something like that. You can say, I need to step over here, I want to get another drink, or I need to refresh my drink, or I need to go to the ladies' room. So have an out that you can use. Another one that I like is to pull someone else into the conversation. If you're standing there and someone's droning on and on, just grab the elbow of someone you know that happens to be walking by and say, oh, Debbie, do you know Susan? Let me introduce you, and just interrupt the conversation. And usually they will be very open to the interruption, because the bores don't realize they're going on and on when you're disinterested, and the new person is there to meet people too. So that's one way that I often do that. So those are some of the tips for how to connect with people at the event. And remember, what you're looking for is rapport. You're looking for common interests, like children's schools, hobbies, any interest that you can talk to them about, because what you're doing is starting a relationship. Networking is a lot like dating, only for business. You're not going to immediately go on a date with someone, if you happen to be single, and immediately jump into, would you like to marry me and spend the rest of your life with me? No, you're going to get to know them, see if you're interested in them, if they're interested in you. It's the same type thing with networking. You're looking to see what you might have in common and whether or not they are someone who's one of your target clients, or if there's someone who would know people in that area. So think about it, taking it slowly. Networking is more like cultivating a crop. You don't go to a networking event and walk away with business any more than you would go to the seed store, pick up a package of seeds, and be picking tomatoes off your plants the next day. It does take time to build these relationships into lucrative business connections. Again, send in your questions if you have them, and we're going to talk now. We're going to move on to after the event. Back in the old days of sales, people used to have a tickler file, and you would keep the business cards and information to contact people within a month, a week, a month, 6 months, every year, whatever. But these days, things have changed a bit. What you want to do is call the business cards you've collected for keepers. And what I mean is people who are in your target market, or people that you think would be connecting you with people in that target market. I tend to connect with everyone because of the writing that I do. But these days, rather than having to contact them the old-fashioned way, I go through as soon as possible and connect with these folks on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, so that I have that connection with them. And the people that you have identified as potential clients, follow up with them on a regular basis. But start out with following up with something just real simple like, enjoyed our conversation. Here's a link to an article I saw that relates to what we were talking about at the event. You can invite people for coffee, lunch, or drinks, but make sure that it's very appropriate and you have a specific reason, because these days we meet with so many people, and just meeting with someone just for coffee, just to talk and see if they might be someone who knows someone who's going to be beneficial to you isn't necessarily the best use of your time. So communicate with them first by, you can like or share, comment on their comments in LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter if they're active in those. You can send an email saying, nice to meet you, and a link to an article. Maybe if it's somebody you really want to connect with, you think they're a target client, make a point to connect with them again in 30 days or so. Maybe I like sharing articles with people. That's a great way to share information and focus on your expertise. And if you think, well, I don't read that much, I don't always see that many articles, all you have to do is go to Google and type in your topic. If it's leadership, networking, team building, communications and employees, if you're in the fashion industry, then something about fashion tips for summer or something like that, and find some article that's of interest to you and send to the person. Also, if you had a conversation, maybe you talked with someone and they're in one of your target businesses, they're someone you think could be a door opener or a potential client for you, and you had a conversation about their kid's soccer team, then maybe you send them an article about soccer and say, this relates to the conversation we were having. What this does is it builds a balance in your emotional bank account with them. If you imagine that every time you meet someone, you open an emotional bank account with them, you want to get as many positive deposits in there before you ask for something like an introduction to someone or to do business with them or to meet and let you talk to them about their business. And so doing things like sending an article to them or maybe inviting them to another event you think they might be interested in is a way to do that. The next point is prepare a nice no. Often, if you do a lot of networking and if you have a business people want to know about, you'll be contacted by people who say, I met you at such and such event. I would like to meet you for coffee. So ask them specifically, is there a specific question you wanted to ask me? Is there something specific that you wanted to discuss? And if you realize that the topic they wanted to talk to you about is not really in your best interest, you can have a nice note prepared where you say, I'm really overscheduled at the moment. Here are the books I recommend reading on how to get into this business we discussed. If you have some specific questions after that, you can contact me and I'll be glad to have a conversation with you. Let me give you an example of that. When I started in the speaking and corporate training business, I was on the board of the local chapter of the National Speakers Association. So people would contact me on a regular basis and say, I'm new in the speaking industry. I want to be started as a speaker. I want to know what to do, and so I thought maybe you could meet with me for lunch and tell me. Well, I never minded doing that, but when you start getting, quite a few calls, it can really cut into your time. So I prepared a tip sheet, my top 10 tips for what to do if you want to get into the speaking business. And this included some books to read, some groups to check out, some online things to check out. And so I would say to people, I don't really have time to meet with you for lunch now, but I'll send you my tip sheet. Once you've completed all the steps on that tip sheet, I'll be happy to give you an hour of my time to answer any specific questions you have. People said to me at first, aren't you afraid to do that? I mean, you're going to end up with so many hours. In 20 years in the speaking business, no one has ever come back to me asking me for a free hour of my time after getting that tip sheet. One of the reasons were the tips were good, solid tips that once they read the book, visited the websites I directed them to, they no longer really had many questions for me, most likely. And if they weren't really interested, then they had realized that they had enough information to make that decision. So I recommend that if there's a particular question you get a lot. One of my friends is in the media, and she's always getting questions on how you get into this, how you get into TV, how you get into radio, and I've made this suggestion to her as well. The next thing is keep in touch with key prospects. If you have identified people that you've met that you think can introduce you to your decision makers or who are your typical clients, your target clients, then make a plan to keep in touch with them every few months. It can be through Facebook, LinkedIn, emails, a note card if you know when their birthday is. You may be able to find that information somewhere. It may be a holiday card. And then when you have built a relationship with them, it will be easier to get an actual appointment with them. Then after you have done these things, review for next time and say what worked with the networking I was doing, what didn't work, and how do I make this better? And realize it is a process, and once you've done this for a while, you'll have quite a list, quite a network of people you can reach out to who either are your prospects or can get you in touch with your prospects. One more tip I would like to give you before I summarize with the takeaways is to be sure that you pay it forward and earn the right to ask. I went to a networking event not too long ago with a gentleman who had asked me to help him with a particular position he was looking for. And I told him, we can go to this networking event, you'll meet some people there you can start relationships with. Some of them will be able to introduce you to the people you need to meet. And he said, oh, yes, sure, absolutely. I know all about networking. I know exactly what to do. And at the end of the meeting, I was introducing him to someone who could be very instrumental in what he was looking for. And he immediately said, oh, I think you're exactly the guy to help me. What I'm really looking for is, and then he stated the position he was trying to get. And it really turned off the guy he was meeting who could have been a valuable asset to him. So that's one of the cardinal rules is don't ask someone for a favor before you've earned the right. If you don't have a relationship with them, you don't want to immediately ask them for a favor. So anyway, these are my tips and a basic outline, a basic plan for how to Connect with people, create connections on purpose and for profit. It does take time. It's a cultivation process, not just an event. And the main things are have a purpose and a plan, focus on relationship building, and enjoy it. If you don't enjoy the way you're networking, it's really not going to pay off for you, so find another way that will. If you are interested in a more detailed outline of this or any information, you can contact me. My contact information is on this last slide. Thank you.
Wow, Myra, thank you so much. This was excellent information, and as a person who runs a live chapter and does networking for a living, literally, I got some really great tips out of that. That was really some fantastic information. So thank you so much for sharing your brilliance today. We are now going to present two of our selected members who were chosen to be highlighted today. Part of what Over 40 Females is about is getting our members noticed. And you may be sitting there wondering if you will be the next one featured on our monthly online event with hundreds of viewers and also archived permanently, so even viewers not live will be checking out your information. Our first featured member is Holly Maddox from our online community chapter. She is from New Orleans, and Holly is a registered nurse. She also works for a company that specializes in helping people reach their health and financial goals. One of the really hot topics, at least around here these days, is gluten-free, and Melaleuca has a ton of great gluten-free and safe solutions for your family, so definitely something to check out. Our second featured member is Ronna Corlin, who is live on the call today, a nutrition coach from our Westchester chapter. She represents a national team of healthy eating specialists, bringing better lifestyle choices to the community in collaboration with a renowned medical advisory board focused on food as medicine. You can get more information about Ronna at her website, ronnacorlin.com. And we have our Beauty Trio raffle worth over $200 by Colin Skincare from France. And the raffle winner today is Margot Masvidal of the Fairfield County chapter. Please email us at info@over40females.com to get your prize sent to you. And I would like to thank you all so much for joining us today to create connections on purpose and for profit. We would love for you to email us with your success stories by the end of next month. Every week we do have online educational teleseminars specifically for our members that last 20 minutes. And every month we will have our online event just like today. So go and save your spot on our community calendar on over40females.com. And I hope you all have a fantastic day, and thank you once again for honoring us with your time. Have a great day.